Investigation is still in its early stages in New Zealand, where a gunman attacked two mosques. At least 49 people are dead. The Prime Minister of New Zealand spoke about the tragedy just moments ago.
The nation grapples with a form of grief and anger that we have not experienced before. We are seeking answers.
Prime Minister says the government is doing everything it can to try to help the victims and their families.
Yeah, they've already set up a hotline and a website to try and put people in touch with family members who are reportedly still missing. The Prime Minister urging calm, telling people to stay home if they can and to report any suspicious behavior. The suspected gunman is a white supremacist who posted his manifesto online, saying in part that he was inspired by the recent spike in white supremacy and violence right here in the United States.
And those words are sparking fear for Muslims here in central Ohio, who are also urging people to reject Islamophobia. NBC4's Ted Hart joining us now with how they're reacting to this really massive tragedy, Ted.
You know, Colleen, it's interesting. Over the years, refugees from Somalia have relocated to various places around the world, many here in Columbus, as we know, but also to Australia and New Zealand. So Muslims here in central Ohio feel a connection to the victims of the attacks in New Zealand. Worshippers at the Abu Bakr Islamic Center prayed for the families of the victims in New Zealand. There are some here with loved ones in New Zealand, all refugees from the Somali Civil War.
This hurts all of us to the core.
Nicole Ghazi says the attacks in New Zealand need to be viewed together with the attacks at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston and the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh.
These acts aren't so random. They're part of a larger movement of hate. These acts of terrorism are born of hatred and fear.
The local Islamic leaders encouraged Muslims not to be afraid, not to change their ways, and to continue to attend services.
Today is a Friday. It really tears me apart when my own congregation members call me, especially the youth, and ask me if it's okay and safe to come to the mosque and just pray.
The faith leaders say now more than ever it's critical for political leaders to speak out against Islamophobia and bigotry.
When you have someone like the President of the United States saying Islam hates us, saying there are fine people on both sides when there's Nazis involved, it gives a sense of legitimacy to people who harbor very bigoted and ignorant beliefs. And that's dangerous. It empowers those people.
And the Columbus chapter of CARE also called on local police departments to step up security around local mosques and for mosques and Islamic schools to implement additional safety measures on their own as well. Local for you, Ted Hart, NBC4.
Thank you, Ted. And as you can imagine, the heartbreak over the shooting is being felt all across the United States, especially after the shooter mentioned the American president. NBC's Blaine Alexander has that part of this story.
Pain in New Zealand felt across the U.S. President Trump expressing his sympathy, tweeting 49 innocent people have so senselessly died. The U.S. stands by New Zealand for anything we can do. In the nation's capital and across the country, mosques stepping up security. Police in New York standing watch during early morning prayers. From the Council on American Islamic Relations,
we tell our community, do not be afraid and do not abandon your mosques. Not today, not ever.
In Christchurch, New Zealand, dozens killed during an attack on two mosques, streamed live on Facebook and later taken down. This freeze frame showing the presumed shooter driving to one of the locations. Online, a 74-page apparent manifesto laying out a white supremacist viewpoint and, at one point, referring to President Trump. Were or are you a supporter of Donald Trump, the author writes, as a symbol of renewed white identity and common purpose? Sure. As a policymaker and leader, dear God, no.
In right-wing extremism and the weaving across national boundaries using social media is something that for governments and clearly for the companies, the tech companies that are involved, is a huge crisis.
Now, a nation widely considered one of the safest in the world, coping with devastating tragedy. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Washington.
Throughout the day, that gruesome video has been shared all across social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. YouTube said it is working vigilantly to remove any violent footage.